Hello and welcome to the T3 Handicapping YouTube channel. I am Chris from T3 Handicapping, and I am here to bring you some free picks here on this Friday. It is April the 15th. We've got a full race card up ahead here at Gulfstream Park today. And so we'll be going over some ways that you could use our free picks, which are available on our website, to take full advantage of that card. Before we do that, just a few ways for you to get involved with T3 Handicapping. First of all, you can go to our website. On our website, we have picks available for purchase over the weekend. So this weekend, we have Friday from Keeneland, as well as two tracks on Saturday, both Keeneland and Oaklawn Park. And then you can also purchase our software on there. If you'd rather play some other tracks, you can buy the software one time, use your Brisnet data files to populate that and get T3 handicapping resources for any and all of your handicapping needs. We also have lots of other horse racing related stuff on there. As we get closer to Kentucky Derby, we'll have more stuff on there as well. You can also find us right here on YouTube. Like and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. That way you make sure that you get access to all of the newest content. You can find us on Facebook, T3 Handicapping, Horse Racing, and when you go on there, there's going to be a lot of exclusives. So a lot of times I'll post one track out on Twitter, but all of the tracks that we're doing, I do free picks throughout the midweek. Those picks go up on our Facebook page. So like and follow that page, and that will be a great opportunity for you to get the most free content from T3 Handicapping. And then finally, you can find us on Twitter as well at Handicapping T3. There you'll get a lot more real-time updates. It's a little bit more informal reactions to things as they occur. So at Handicapping T3. Lots of ways to get involved here with T3 Handicapping if you are just getting into horse racing or if you're a long-time horse racing aficionado. Before we get into the card from Gulfstream, a couple of things here in the upcoming. First of all, as I mentioned, we do have a number of channels that you can get involved with us on. This is the typical interface that I will post on a lot of our social media platforms, so you can kind of get a chance to see that. Here are the cards that we do have available on our website. So Friday, which is actually the day that we're recording this, the Maker's Mark card from Keeneland looks like a really strong card. The Lexington card for Saturday, and then the Count Fleet at Oaklawn on Saturday as well. You can also get Gulfstream for free, and I'll put the link to that down in the description. So you've got a lot of different ways to go. Now, one of the things that we are also offering is a multi-track bundle, so you can get the Maker's Mark, the Lexington, and the Count Fleet for the cost of just $5 instead of $6 that it would cost you to buy individually. Plus, if you do that, you'll get Gulfstream thrown in for free on Saturday. So you really get 4 tracks for $5 if you purchase our bundle package. And then you can see here, these are just straight picks. This is just the order in which they popped out on our grading scale. The last kind of housekeeping item before we jump into the card is just a reminder that we are 4 days away from the start of one of my favorite tracks, Indiana Grand. Although I'm not based in Indiana, it's become a track that I fell in love with last summer. As I was playing there, I think they're very horse-friendly and very player-oriented. So this year, as we play it more regularly, I will be offering daily bet shares through the Twin Spires app. I'll post the links in our Facebook page, and then you can go in and jump in on pick 4s, pick 5s, things like that. There will be one bet share posted each day. It's a first-come, first-served basis, so you want to make sure that you like and follow so that you can get in on those and be a part. It's a great way to get involved in pick 5 wagers for a fraction of the cost. If we win, the money will automatically be deposited into your account by Twin Spires. You do need to have access to a Twin Spires account to get involved in that action. All right, let's get into our plays here now for today, Friday at Gulfstream Park. So up on my screen here, you can see our pick sheet. So I wanted to go over this a little bit today because I wanted you to have an opportunity, if you've never used our product before, I wanted you to have an opportunity to see it and what it looks like so that you can have a better idea moving forward. And I did make a couple markings on this one already. This pick sheet is always the first sheet that you'll see, and you can see that I've highlighted 3 races where my confidence level is at a really high rate, and it's a rating that generally has meant good things for me when betting the horizontal wagers. So typically my cutoff is kind of right around like a 73. I found for some reason to be the best cutoff number to knowing when you really have a solid opinion. So here you can see that in race 2 we have a 78 confidence. This only relates to how likely we are to get a winner, or how much data we have in the system. Now I found that my data tends to produce a pretty good number of winners, and so with that I feel pretty confident when I'm putting together my tickets. Definitely in a race that's like a 78, I'm not going to go past my B horses. In most cases, I'm going to single through my A horses, or in this case, key through my A horses. So I really like Demo Wonder. Diligent also looks good in this spot, and Unified Conquest as well in the 8th. And that's a little bit of a long shot on the Tapeta. Now, if we have some speed scratch out, that could change that. But those would be sort of my anchors for horizontals. And that's really where I use the confidence rating. It's really related to how likely is this race to produce a winner, and to be accurate with the measures. This pick sheet here is a great sheet to use if you are a horizontal player, because it gives you a really nice, concise view of how we view things. Not just top 3 picks, but how we rate them out. I would tell you, if you see just like 1 or 2 horses on an entire line, you might want to go back and check. Sometimes that can be an indication of a race. Like this one is a 60. That just means we don't have a lot of data. So specifically, I would go back and look at some of those lower horses to make sure that one of them isn't getting missed just because they lack data. So as we come in then here, this is the bulk of what we do. And these are our race summaries. It's got a new format. If you've used our product before, this is a little bit different. But we're really excited about some of the changes that we've made. And there's a video out on our YouTube channel that goes over them, but I'll quickly recap them here. As you're going through, you've got track, date, race number. This class level, this is an inverse. So high equals bad, lower equals good. So we would expect like a class level 5 to be pretty good company. A class level 21, not so much. So here we've got a class level 21, and you can see we actually have an asterisk next to that. And that's because the class is going to reflect pedigree, not previous races. These are lightly raced horses. The algorithm has identified that, and so it wanted to use a different type of metric in order to identify who our best of class is going to be, because the reality is we just don't know what some of these horses have run up against to this point. So we use pedigree instead. We're going 7 furlongs on the dirt, and you can see our pace projection is slow. Now, you got to be a little careful about this because the pace projection is slow, but we also have a number of runners that are an undefined run style. So that means that we've got a lot of horses that, don't have a defined run style, and so it's really hard to get a true accurate measure of pace. We think it's going to be slow based on the projection, but that's also a lot of unknowns with 5 unidentified horses. We also have a positive run style of an F type, which is a front runner type. You can see that down here: front, versatile, mid-pack, closer, and unknown. My face is there. So front runner, versatile, the right down here as to what each of the grades means. This track, the dirt track at Gulfstream, no surprise, favors front runners. That makes it tricky for me because the only confirmed front runner I have is Hard Choice, who comes in as my 4th overall pick. So that is a little bit dicey and something I'm going to have to really work to get through as I'm trying to handicap this race officially. Excuse me. In this middle column here, I have the top 5 horses as identified by our different ratings over here. So you'll notice that like the 6 is the top speed horse, and the 6 shows up here. If horses are tied, they will both show up in this speed box. So if there's another horse that's an 18, they'll come in here. This just shows you the top 5, because what you'll find, for example, I know that one of our races where we like the United Conquest, I think his name was, Unified Conquest. So in the race that I like, Unified Conquest, Um, Nope, it's not that one. Sorry, it's a different one. It is the one with the number 6. There we go. It's this guy. So in this race here, Chickaboom actually comes out to be our top selection when you're using the horizontal grades. But when you go over to our grid, you don't have the 5 anywhere on the grid because the 5 is just up here because A, it worked out pretty well in these spots, and it also doesn't have very many negative factors. So you have to kind of play around with that and use the tools to your advantage, and figure out what you value and what's most important. For this video, I'm just going to go through and take a look at a couple of these races here. We'll go through races 1 and 2 on the card and just take a look at sort of what we see and how we might play it. So as I'm looking through this, I'm seeing that I have a 4 that rates out as the top horse, does not rate out anywhere in the top, and actually doesn't come up on that many of these different metrics. Now, what that tells me is this first time starter does not have anything wrong. So I have certain negative handicapping angles that get punched into the algorithm after these initial things are put together. This horse being able to score high despite only having 3 categories. You know, a first time starter doesn't have speed or stamina ratings. They're not going to have heart ratings because that deals with their willingness to pass horses in the stretch. They're not going to have race flow. They're not going to have pace, and they're not going to have a record at the distance. So, in every category in which this horse is eligible, they're in the top 3. To me, that's a really positive sign. In this race, I'm going to steer more towards using this rating over here rather than this rating over here. This rating is telling me that the 4 is a live runner. I feel like between the 4, the 6, I'm not as actually convinced on this. Well, I'd probably use the 3 as well. Similar situation. And then hard choice is a nice value. So I would probably in this situation focus a vertical or a horizontal wager using 4, 6, 3, and 2, using basically all my A's and my C plus. The pluses for the value. These minus horses mean that they're bad value. No indication means that they're properly valued. So we would expect ransom reward to be about the 5th choice in the betting. So I would probably focus verticals or horizontals through these horses here. My A ticket would probably be pressed up to the 4. My sort of backup ticket would go through probably the 3 and the 6. And then my saver ticket would probably go through the 2, although I would be inclined at 12 to 1 to push the 2 up onto more of a backup type ticket, particularly if that morning line is coming down a little bit, indicating that maybe the horse has a little bit of run, and that money is positive. In race 1, I have the opportunity to watch the board and see how that goes. Race 1 is not a situation where I would typically use this grid to develop a lot of vertical wagers, so exactas tries. If I were going to, I would probably play exactas in this spot, and I would use the inverse bet lines because the speed figures of the 6, the class of the 6, these in these maiden races, I think tend to get overplayed. I think you can find real value in these horses by looking at things like their race flow, and their some of these first-time starters. So we've really put an emphasis on the experience here and then the connections, right? And that's kind of it. Uh, Obviously, this class 1, given that it's based on pedigree, could also play a role. So maybe you want to anchor to that. These are just suggestions. Based on our data and what we've shown about this type of race, these are the bet lines that work the best. But if you know that there's a horse that you really like the pedigree on, you might want to anchor out a class and go here, here, and here, and that's just fine, right? This is handicapping. You got to make it your own. So in this case, if I were going to play anything vertical, I would play probably in this field. I don't feel great about using like tries and things like that, although I think there would be a payout with this one with the 2. So I would probably just do an exact key, and in this one I would key the 2 over and under the 3, 6. And then on this one, if I were going to use this, I would probably key the 6 over and under the 1 and the 8 because I get good value from the odds on those horses there. That's how I would do it. But again, I'm not recommending that anybody rush to the window to bet a race where this is based on a bunch of horses with inexperience. If you're going to do it, I would recommend that you keep it low, keep it light. We do not have a T3 handicapping horse in that race. Now, this one is a little bit different story. This one is a more established group. We're going race number 2, 6 furlongs on the dirt. This is a class level 10, so a much better class level than the one we were just looking at. We're projecting a moderate pace here, and once again, we're looking at a front-running style. So the pace projection is about 17 out of 24. It's not going to be wicked fast, so I would upgrade anybody that's a front-running or versatile type. And Demo Wonder is the one that really stuck out for me. Now, Demo Wonder is actually my top selection in this and is one of my top plays. So in this situation, I'm going to probably go back to race 1. I'll probably look at the doubles, and I'll probably weight doubles on the 3, the 4, the 6, and the 2 into Demo Wonder and see if I can cash there, kind of a lock it up double using different weights. Obviously, I would anticipate the 3, 4, and 6. I'd need to have a little bigger investment, whereas the 2, 4, the 2 in the last race into the 4 in this race would probably be a little bit smaller. In this race now, I'm more inclined to, certainly here as I'm looking at the grades given to the horses, I'm going to probably use Demo Wonder as my A horse, as my top selection, singled in most of my tickets. And then I would come back with one saver ticket on Sprout Wings, only because I'm getting good value on Sprout Wings. That's the only reason. That's why I skip over these 2 C grades and come right down to the 5, because I'm looking for horses. If I'm going to be using horses that grade out as a C, I'm going to only be looking for horses that have pluses next to their name. A's and B's, I'm okay using an A. I'm okay using a B. I try to stay away from B minus horses and C minus horses and so on. I just think undervalued horses are, overvalued horses are just not a recipe for success. So if I were going to have a backup ticket going through the 5, you can see here our grid plays out, but I don't have any unknowns here. So I've got data on every horse in every category, and we are using true class ratings here, which is why the classes are much lower here than what we saw in our previous race. In this situation, what we have found is that in dirt sprint races, at a class level of 10, that we tend to see the most important factor be speed. Speed is the most important thing that tends to factor in the trifecta when it comes to these type of races. Now, normally, I would say exacta box 4-5, exacta box 4-6, exacta box 4-2. But in this case, because I like Demo Wonder so much, I'm probably just going to be looking to do some trifectas. I probably will just key the 4. I'll probably go like 4. I might use the 2, 5, and 6 in second. And then I might use like the 2, 5, 6, 1 in third. And then I might flip the top 2 spots. So 2, 5, 6 with 4, with 2, 4, 5, 6, or with 2, 5, 6, 1, right? So you can kind of play around with the grid as much as possible. But if you're brand new to the game and you're looking for just something to get involved and to learn the game, what I would recommend is pick one of the suggested bet lines and just play that. Right, do an exacta box. In this case here, as I'm looking, my personal preference when I get this set of bet lines is to play either this one here, because I think you're going to hit more, although you will often lose value because Jockey Trainer is pretty overbet in terms of an underneath placement. And then the other one that I really like is this one here. Because form and heart tend to be good separators, and so they're not something that a lot of people are necessarily going to have just sitting in front of them in their past performance. So if you get the speed horse home, and you get one of those other 2 home in your exacta, a lot of times that's where you can see great value. So if you're brand new to the sport, take a look at our highlighted bet lines. If you're more interested in just cashing tickets, then you might want to just pick the one that has the shortest odds. If you're one that's more interested in value, look for some of these factors that aren't overbet. So this one's kind of overbet. This one tends to be overbet. This one tends to be a little bit overbet. Um, so look for ones that encompass some of the more secondary factors that might create some separation. That's going to increase your profits over time. All right, that's the last race I'm going to cover in full because we are at 20 minutes and I want to give you time to handicap the races yourself. The only thing I did want to point out is like when we come down here, we do have a T3 horse and you'll see those listed down in this box, a recommended 5 bet units on that horse. So normally, if we're using, let's say, just a $2 basic bet, we would recommend that you play then a $10 wager on this horse. And that's just based on the fact that this horse comes up in 5 different boxes. Now, with that being said, normally we would say bet $10 then on this horse to win if you're playing with a $2 base unit. But in this case, we do have a situation where the horse does not rate out as our top horse in it. And that always makes me a little bit skeptical. And so what I tend to do when I see something like that is I implore one of two approaches. One approach is that I use a win, play, show ladder. Now, you may struggle if you're a small bankroll player to say, well, wait a minute, if I use $10 to win, $10 to place, and $10 to show, that's a $30 bet, and I don't really feel comfortable with that. And I totally get it. I also would say you shouldn't be betting the same amount to show that you are to win because your margins are going to be so small, especially with a horse that's the second choice on the morning line. So you really do want to be weighting it. So what I would recommend if you're going to do a win, place, show ladder, so a little bit to win, a little bit more to place, and a little bit more to show, is I would use the 5 units to show. So do $10 to show, do like half of that. So in this case, I do like 3 units to place and 1 unit to win. That's a better option for a smaller bankroll player. Again, that's just a suggestion, but you can be as flexible with this as you want. Another option would be to just take that 6 and just key it in every spot. So key it with all the other grid horses in the exacta or any other value horses in the exacta, or key it in all 3 spots in the try. And then it kind of serves the same purpose as a win, play, show, except that you do have to get the other horses right. So just a couple of different ideas there on how you can start playing. Again, you can get this whole card available on our website. I will put that link down below in the description so that you can easily get to that. But the website is t3handicapping.weebly.com. When you're there, you can also purchase our packages for today, Friday at Keeneland, as well as Saturday at Keeneland and Oaklawn. And remember, if you buy the package, you get Gulfstream Saturday for free as well. Good luck in all your horse racing plays. If you have any questions about the picks or about the plays or anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out, like and subscribe, follow us on all of our socials. And